science museums. And National Council of Science Museums administer 25 science centers and science cities across the country. And we are further governed by the Ministry of Culture, Government of India. And basically, our objective is to popularize science through various activities. It may be workshops, seminars, lecture like this, and many other ways, science seminars, science fairs, science drama, and cartoon making. There are a lot of activities which we keep on doing throughout the year. So those who are joining us for the first time, I request them to look for the nearest science center in their cities. And if it is not there in case, then you can join our Facebook pages or you can join us through YouTube or the Twitter. So with this brief information, I'll introduce the speaker of the day. Sri A.K. Samal has been working in the census organization since 1995 in various capacities. He was directly associated with the last two Decennial Censuses of 2001 and 2011 and had supervised the census taking activities in many states, UTs, besides the coordination activities at the headquarters. He has been awarded with the prestigious Presidential Medal for his outstanding contribution during the census 2001 and 2011. He has represented India in a number of international conferences and workshops on various census-related matters. Sri Samal, as Deputy Registrar General and after his superannuation in February 2021 as Senior Consultant in the Office of the Registrar General, India has been contributing in the planning of the forthcoming census, in which we will see a lot of new activities and a lot of new changes, and it will be a very large census, and it will be first digital census in India. Hopefully, the viewers will understand what is the importance of census in a country like India, with a lot of population, with a large population, and it will give an insight. And I'll request viewers to ask questions once the lecture is over. Then you please ask the questions. Now the dais is over to you, sir. Please, yes, please start, sir.
Thanks, everyone. It is a rare opportunity for the Office of Registrar General India to make a presentation on census activities. And we are thankful to the NSC, National Science Council Center, Delhi, for giving this opportunity. And just I will share my presentation. Thereafter, I can start my discussion. Just please be with me for 1-2 minutes. I think now my presentation is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot. And I shall now discuss on a topic that is the decennial census in India, past practices and future perspective. And this discussion will be in four parts. First one will be Census of India introduction, then past practices, important data highlights, then strategy for present round of census. Now the introduction part we will discuss. First of all, how do we define the population census? Here, population census is the total process of collecting, compiling, analyzing, or otherwise disseminating demographic, economic, and social data pertaining at a specific time to all persons in a country or a well-defined part of a country. As such, the census provides a snapshot of the country's population and housing at a given point of time. Here we can see in the census process we have three different activities. First one is collecting, then compiling, and third one is analyzing or otherwise disseminating. In the absence of one part, the census will be treated as incomplete. Once census is completed and the data collected through census that is disseminated, then we treat that the process is complete. And once the process is complete, we get a clear-cut picture regarding our population pertaining to a particular point of time, and that time is called as the reference time in census. First one, that is objective of census. Why do you conduct census? In almost all the countries, they conduct census. Also, India, we used to conduct our census. But what are the objectives? First one is in census, we intend to complete, to cover everyone without any omission and duplication. And much more importance is given on the accurate enumeration of all people so that we can have a good idea regarding the people and their activities, etc. And through census, we try to answer a few points. First one is who and how many. Who means how many, that means about the males, about the females, about literates, about illiterates, about workers, about non-workers, like that. And how many? What is their number? What is the magnitude? And these questions are answered by our census. Then what do they do and how often? That means work status, etc. Then condition of houses, the condition of the houses where the people they live in, and what is the materials with which these houses have been built up, and whether the condition of the house is good or dilapidated, like that. Then household amenities, the facilities available with the households and assets possessed by the households. All these are collected. Then individual level information, that is important. Then utility. And census, that is the only source of providing primary data at the lowest administrative unit. And in India, our lowest administrative units are villages in rural areas and towns and wards in urban areas. And again, census is the biggest source of providing comprehensive data on. These are the various parameters: housing conditions, amenities, assets, then demography. By demography, we mean as structure, then composition of the house, marital status, like that. Then scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, social status, I mean to say, urbanization, literacy, education, language, religion and migration, economic activity, fertility. These are the broader parameters on which census cater the needs. Then again, insofar as utilities of census that is concerned, it is widely used for planning and formulation of policies, effective public administration. Insofar as effective public administration is concerned, I should give one example. Suppose in an area we intend to open a new school. For that, at least the government, the local administration, initially they require the data. What is the population in that area? what is the age group population, that means child population in the area. Without that, if a school will be opened and there won't be any student, then the very opening of a school will be meaningless. That is why census data is very much useful for all types of public administration, then widely used by national and international agencies, scholars, business people, industrialists, and many more for their own purposes. Delimits, this is the last one, a constitutional obligation is fulfilled by the census, that is delimitation and reservation of constituencies. You see, after every census, on the basis of population data of the census, our parliamentary constituencies, assembly constituencies, panchayat, electoral areas, and other local bodies, their constituencies, etc., are finalized on the basis of the population data. And SC/ST reservations also done as per the presence of SCs and STs in different areas. And these are also the constitutional need, and we provide data for fulfilling that need also. Then legacy, or otherwise we may call it the history of Indian census. And when we talk about the history of Indian census, we should not go back. Actually, in the Kautilya's writing in Arthashastra, there was indication about counting of population, and purely that was for getting the revenues for the king. But our modern census, that was conducted non-synchronously in India during a period of 7 years, from 1865 to 1872, at different points of time in different parts of our country. And the culminating efforts, that is in 1872, was popularly known as the first modern census in India. That is why the 1872 is known as the first modern census in India. But it was non-synchronous. Non-synchronous, we mean that is at different points of time the census was conducted in different parts of our country. Not at a single point of time it was conducted. But the first synchronous census was conducted in 1881. That is at a particular point of time throughout the country. That was the first synchronous census. And the last census we conducted in India, that is 2011, and that was 15th in the series from 1872, and 7th after independence. And our next census was planned to be held in 2021. In fact, we have the tradition of conducting census in the year ending with 1. That means 2001, 2011, then 2021. Earlier also 1901, like that. But our planning was for 2021, but due to COVID-19 pandemic, the census 2021, that has been postponed, and it has not been finalized yet, as because still we are facing the problem of COVID-19 pandemic. And legal authority for conducting a census, there is a legal backing. Without that, it cannot be successfully conducted in a country like India, where we have multilingual, multi-culture, etc. It will be very difficult. In almost all the countries, there is a legal provision for conducting the census. And in India also, we have the legal provisions. And it is covered under Union List Article 246 of the Constitution, and it is enlisted at serial number 69 of 7th schedule of the Constitution. And we conduct our census under Census Act 1948 prior to our independence. This act was prior to our independence, and the census rules 1990, done with the active cooperation of state and UT governments. Although this is a union matter, but state governments, they cooperate very closely for conducting census, and without their cooperation it cannot be conducted. Then census commissioners, presently our Registrar General, he is otherwise also known as the census commissioner for conducting successful census. and directors of census operations. In various states, we have the census directorates. Therein, we have the directors of census operations. They are appointed by the central government. There is a provision in our Census Act, that is Section 4, subsection 1. As per that provision, both census commissioner as well as directors of census operations are appointed, and they are appointed for a period of 5 years or so. Then under section 4, subsection 2, up to section 4 and subsection 4 of the Act, state government, they appoint district collectors and other officers and officials as census functionaries for conducting the census. Then provision of penalty, we have the penalty provision for non-compliance. The census functionaries who will be appointed for census work, if they won't cooperate, then there will be the penalty provision that can be imposed. Also, we have the penalty provision for the public. No public can deny to share their individual information, and that is why if anyone can deny, then there will be the penalties that can be imposed on them. Then we have another important provision, that is confidentiality of individual information. Whatever will be collected during census, that cannot be individual information. Suppose I am a person, my sex, that means whether I am a male, female, or I belong to third gender, what is my age, etc. All these individual information cannot be shared with anyone, neither to any public nor to any government agency. Only the aggregated data, that means for a village or an enumeration block, aggregated data can be provided, which can be used for planning purpose, but no individual information can be revealed. Even it cannot be produced in the court of law, as per the section 15 of the Act. Then we have some important activities. Somebody may ask, suppose census, we collect data at a particular point of time, then what for there is a particular office or an organization working continuously? That means here I should say, before actual census taking, we need to do many things, many preparatory work at our level. And the important preparatory works, I have given some examples. So that is jurisdictional changes. During two censuses, there will be definitely some jurisdictional changes, creation of new state, a new district, a new sub-district like Tahsil, yeah, police station, yeah, city blocks, or new villages, etc. And all these jurisdictional changes are finalized, and all the state governments are asked to not to go for any jurisdictional changes once the census is declared and there is a specific date. After that, the state governments are not allowed to make any changes. And then we finalize our list of administrative units and we go for the census. Then as because this is important, as because we need to ultimately release data for each and every administrative units. That is why if suppose we are going to conduct census, there will be a creation of new village, then it will be difficult for us. That is why we freeze the administrative boundaries. Thereafter, we go for the field work. Likewise, another important activity is questionnaires. We finalize the questionnaires, we take meetings with various ministries, with various data users. Then we finalize our census questionnaires. Accordingly, also instruction manuals for enumerators. Then mapping activities, that map helps us to properly identify the area and to ensure no area has been left out. Then we go for printing of schedules, printing of instruction manuals. Then there will be training activities to impart training. We can discuss it later on in subsequent slides. Then pre-testing. Before going for the actual census, we test our, one is called as full dress real cell. And we go for the pre-testing, we test our questionnaires, we test the methodology, we test our preparation. If there is any deficiencies, we try to overcome them before going for the actual fieldwork. Then during a census, the activities are data collection, that is major activity, and then supervision in order to ensure that qualitative data are being collected, then monitoring whether timely is being done or not, Then resolving complaints. There may be public complaints like we have not been covered. There are some other problem maybe there, and all these complaints are resolved through our call centers. Then other relative activities. Then post census activities. Once data are collected, thereafter we arrange to get back the field-in schedule. So then there will be data processing, scrutiny, and dissemination of final data. All these, that means for the preparation of census, we take 3-4 years prior to our actual fieldwork. And thereafter, once data are collected, thereafter processing, dissemination, etc., that also takes 5-6 years. But this time we may do it very quickly as because we are going for the digital census. And this is the administrative setup. The census is a very gigantic work, and it cannot be completed without the cooperation of state governments and union territories. That is why our setup is like this. At the national level, we have Registrar General and Census Commissioner India. We shortly call him as the RG and CCI. And this particular office, Office of the Registrar General India, that is under Ministry of Home Affairs. We are ours is an attached office of the Ministry of Home Affairs. And at the national level, RG and CCI is the ultimate head for conducting a successful census. And to assist the Registrar General and Census Commissioner India, in different states we have directors of census operations, and in almost all the state capitals, state and UT capitals, we have the offices except 2 union territories. At Ladakh, very recently created, we don't have any office, and in Dadra Nagar Haveli and Daman Diu, we don't have an office. And the Directorate of Census Operation at Jammu and Kashmir takes care of Ladakh, and likewise the Directorate of Census Operations Gujarat, that takes care of Dadra Nagar Haveli and Daman Diu. And in the state, Chief Secretary at the helm of affairs is at the top, who provides all types of cooperation. And there is a coordinating department in many states, Revenue Department or Home Department, etc. They are the coordinating department for the state, from the state for census activities. And the principal secretary or the commissioner, whosoever is heading that department, becomes the nodal officer for the state for census activities. And at the district level, as I told, the district magistrate, district commissioners, or the commissioners of corporations, municipal corporations, they are appointed for census as principal census officer, and they are responsible for proper conduct of census in their district or in the municipal corporation. Below district, there are tahsildars, sub-divisional magistrate, cities, town magistrates, or mamlatdars, BDOs, block development officers. They work as the charge officer for census. And in urban area, mainly in smaller towns, municipalities, etc., the executive officers, they work as the charge officer. And in fact, they are responsible for proper conduct of census in their respective areas. Ultimately, they provide a certificate that we have completed the census successfully and no area or no household has been left out. That certificate we obtain from the charge officers at the end of our census period. And at the bottom, there are 2 categories of officials. One is enumerators, another is supervisors, and they play the key role for our census taking. The enumerators, actually, they are the data collectors for our census. And normally the primary school teachers or other government officials in the state or local bodies, they work as the enumerators. And one enumerator is assigned with the work of about 700 to 800 population or 150 to 180 households. And the supervisors, who are to some extent senior in rank of the enumerators, they may be middle school teachers, high school teachers, or some senior government officials. Government officials means government field officials. They work as supervisors, and one supervisor supervises the work of 6 enumerator. And this is the administrative setup. Then now we can discuss about the vastness of our census. Just taking some examples of our earlier 2011 census. The 2011 census, its cost was about 22,000 million, or in crore it is 2200 crore, and cost per person it was about 18.19 rupees, and number of census functionaries engaged were about 2.7 million, that means 27 lakh. Number of languages in which schedules were canvassed, that was 16. Number of languages in which training manuals were prepared was 18. Number of schedules printed, it is 340 million. Number of training manuals printed was about 5.4 million. Papers utilized was 8,000 metric tons. Materials moved from one place to another was 10,500 metric tons. Here you can see some pictures indicating regarding the difficulties in our coverage during census. The left side first picture at the top is about the Gujars and Bakrwals. They are found in Jammu and Kashmir. What they move on, keep on moving from one place to another. They are the nomads, and we make certain special arrangements for their counting, as because our census, in our census, we try to cover everyone without any omission and duplication. That is why we take some steps for their complete coverage. And on the left side, the bottom picture you can see, that is the Zorwa tribe in Andaman and Nicobar. And there are some good examples in the past, as because the outsiders cannot enter into their areas. There was earlier in the earlier censuses, we used to beat the drums at the shore of the seashore, and once after hearing the beating of the drums, they used to come out. Thereafter, their heads were counted. That was the system. And for 2021, we had been planning to count their population through satellite pictures, and it will be finalized suitably. And on the right side, you can see one picture at the top, tree house of Jenu Kuruba tribe. That tribe is found in Karnataka, in Mysore region. You can see how the house has been built up at the tree, etc. And here, just to count them, in our census, all types of structure, maybe kacha, maybe pakka, maybe temporary, maybe permanent, all these are taken care of. Likewise, for Jenu Kuruba tribe also, we covered them suitably. And the bottom picture is regarding Naga tribe that is found in Nagaland. Also, some special arrangements are made to cover them. I mean to say that means despite the difficulties, the census organization, they make all types of efforts to cover everyone, so that no one is left out. Another some difficulties here you can see on the left side, one picture is shelter under the RCC canal. These areas, that means without any, wherever the people, they don't have any own house, etc. And they found any shelter, they stay there, and we used to get them entered in our census schedules. And the below one left side picture is regarding shelter on unused road. These people are houseless people, they don't have any houses, and they are found on the roads, on the railway platforms, etc. And we enumerate them on the last day of our enumeration period, so that they won't be duplicated, they won't be double counted at any other place. That is why that is the arrangement. And on the right side, we have another at the top, another picture of urban slum in Mumbai. Very congested area, and there will be many households, and for them we make some special arrangements so that all the households will be covered. And the lower picture on the right side is the night shelter. These people, they don't have any own accommodation. They keep on staying in the Rain Basera, etc. In Delhi, we call it as Rain Basera or night shelters. And if there will be a structure, then they will be counted during enumeration period. Otherwise, they will be counted on the last day of our enumeration. Then this is another part, past practices. How could we conduct our census in the past? In some slides, I will discuss about this. And here in our past censuses, what were the methodologies? Uh, this will give an idea about our methodology till census 2011. And here data collection by enumerators only. Only the enumerators, they used to visit each and every house and households and collect data. Then canvassing the same questions in a particular census. Then recording data on paper schedules. Then coding of descriptive responses after data collection. There may be some descriptive responses. Suppose religion. What is your religion? Somebody told Hindu, somebody told Muslim, somebody told Christian, somebody told Allah, like that. Whatever is being responded, that will be recorded by the enumerator without any application of his mind. And thereafter, these were being coded in our headquarters by experienced officials. Then data were prepared. Then after coding, there was the step data processing, then release of results. And this was the distribution of materials and logistic arrangements in 2011 census. All the schedules were printed in the high-end presses with a dynamic numbering system. And after printing, the Department of Post, they just carried the schedules, printed schedules from our printing presses to the charge officer. And likewise, some other materials were printed in our census directorates, Directorate of Census Operations, we call them shortly DCUs, and like instruction manual and other census records. And these materials were also carried by the Department of Post from census directorate to charge officers. Then charge officers, on the basis of a register, they distributed it amongst the enumerators. And then data processing stages. Here you can see the flow chart. The collection of household schedules at scanning. Once data are collected using the census schedules in 2011, all these filled-in schedules were collected at scanning centers. In fact, in all of our census directorates, in the major census directorates, we have the data centers as well as the scanning centers. And all these filled-in schedules were collected in the scanning centers. Thereafter, these schedules were scanned, and then data were processed using ICR technology. ICR technology, that is intelligent character recognition. That is very, for the first time we had used ICR technology in 2001 census for the first time in India. And we continued the same technology in 2011 census with some improved version. And this technology helps us to capture, to read the numeric fields automatically. And wherever the numeric fields could not be captured, could not be read by the technology automatically, for that there was manual processing. Suppose six was written by somebody, not a particular, in a particular style, it appeared like 8 or 6. There was a confusion from the ICR technology. At that time, ICR technology, through that digit, through that numeric entries for manual intervention. Thereafter, seeing the picture, our experienced hands, they will decide whether it is 6 or 8, like that. That was the manual processing. Then computer assisted coding. As I told, there were some descriptive entries like religion names, mother tongue names, then educational level. All these were coded, and after being coded, then there was the finalization of results. Then data dissemination. In 2011 census, these are the different instruments for dissemination of census data. One is printed reports. For every census, we had printed reports. There were also electronic data like release tables through CDs, release tables on website. We have one dedicated website, ORJ website. On the last slide, I have mentioned about that. Whosoever will be interested can visit that website to see the availability of census data. Then release tables on website. Then customized tables. So whatever tables are not released and but the state or any user, suppose they require any table other than the release tables, they can seek our help and we provide them customized tables, keeping certain things in mind. That means some sensitive data cannot be made available, like religion up to a limit. जैसे कि for subdivision, sub-district we can provide, we cannot provide it for each and every villages. Keeping all these in mind, we used to provide the customized tables as per the need. Then there are administrative atlases, thematic maps, data sheets, booklets, and pamphlets. Then important data highlights. I will cover this particular portion. Thereafter, I will stop for a moment and invite for questions for 5 minutes. Thereafter, I can move to the fourth one. In important data highlights, I have given you see census provides enormous data. That means we have vast tables, and it is not possible to present all types of tables here. I have given some basic data here, and you can see the census data on basic parameters from 1961 to 2011 census. And here is the first left side table, the diagram that is regarding the population of India. You can see in 1961, our population was 43.9 crore, and that went up to 121.1 crore in 2011 census. On the right side, you can see in the diagram there are two curves. One is blue, another is black. And the blue colored curve that indicates about the decadal growth. From one census to another, what is the population growth that indicates, that is indicated by that blue curve. And you can see that it is coming downwards. That means our decadal growth, which was more than 24% in 61 to 71, that has now come down to about 17.7% in the decade 2001 to 2011. And the lower one, that is black curve, that indicates about the addition, absolute additions to our population. And it is going on. That means additions to population in every decade, it is increasing, but at a declining rate. You can see the curve at the last part, that is more or less flat. That means during the 1991 to 2001, whatever is the increase, the more or less same increase has been noticed during the decade 2001 to 2011. That is a good symbol. Now this is about density of population, and we define density as the persons per square kilometer. And you can see in 1961, our density was about 142 persons per square kilometer. It gradually increased, and in 2011 census, it touched 382 persons per square kilometer. And this is nothing but the pressure on our land, as because our land mass that is constant, population is increasing. That is why gradually there is a lot of pressure on our land. We need to just restrict our density of population. Then another interesting figure, that is about child population 0-6 years within the 0-6 year age group. Here you can see our child population in 1961, it was about 9.5 crore, and in 2011 it went up to 16.5 crore. But if you can see in the last two censuses, in 2001 and 2011, the absolute number of child population in the age group 0 to 6, that is more or less same. That means 16.4 crores in 2001, 16.5 crores in 2011. And on the right side, the proportion of child population means the percentage of child population to the total population in the age group 0 to 6. And here you can see in 1961, the percentage was 21.6%. Gradually, it has declined to 13.6% in 2011. And that indicates about the fertility in our country at present. That means less birth. Then another indicator is sex ratio. Here, first of all, we should define what is sex ratio. Sex ratio is defined in India as number of females per thousand males. And in Western countries, sex ratio is defined separately. They define it as number of males per thousand females, but ours is just opposite. Number of females per thousand males, as because in India, in almost all the countries, all the states and union territories, our number of females per thousand males is less. That only Kerala, that is just nearer to 1,000, but in other states it is lesser than the number of males. That is why you define as the number of females per thousand males. And likewise, child sex ratio, that is number of girl childs per thousand male childs. And there are two curves you can see. One is blue curve, and the blue curve here near below there is the indication that gives about the sex ratio for the total population. And the black dotted line, that is the child sex ratio. And the total sex ratio you can see in 1961 it was 941 males for 941 females for 1000 males. And there was erratic behavior in one decade. It declined, then it went up slightly, then again declined, and from 1991 it is gradually increasing. That is a good symbol. And in 2011, our total total population sex ratio is 943. That means 943 females per 1000 males in the total population. But if you will see the child sex ratio in the age group 0 to 6, it is very matter of concern. In fact, in 1961, our child sex ratio was 976. That means 976 girl childs per 1000 male childs. It is declining gradually. In 2001, it touched 927. Then in 2011, slightly has improved. Now sex ratio, child sex ratio is 918. That means 918 girl childs per 1000 male childs. If the same trend would have been followed, you can see the red line. From 927, it could have touched about 910 or below that. But due to some government intervention during the decade 2001 to 11, the child sex ratio is now for 2011 is 980. Then effective literacy rate. Here in I should define first what is effective literacy rate. Here in census, in fact, we ask this question about literacy for the persons aged of the age of 7 and above. We don't ask this question for 6 years and below, as because our census literates, that is defined as a person's capable of reading, writing with understanding in any language. He or she will be treated as a literate. And in Indian context, Indian scenario, our entry for class 1 admission, I think that is 5 years, minimum 5 years. And to have to read, write, and then with understanding, they will take some time. Of course, in urban areas, the students tier 2 5, they learn everything. But we will have to take a definition which will also be applicable for our remote areas in rural side. That is why we have the definition of canvassing this question for 7 years and above. That is why we calculate the literacy rate, taking the 7-year plus population as well as literates among the 7-year plus population. And literacy rate, we divide the total number of literates in the age group 7 and above by the total number of total population in the age group 7 and above, multiplied by 10, then we get the effective literacy rate. Here you can see in this diagram, there are also two curves. The upper curve is the literacy rate, effective literacy rate. And in 1961, our literacy rate was 30.7%. And gradually it increased, and in 2011 census, it touched 73.0%. And the lower curve, that is about the gender gap in literacy. That means the gap between male literates and female literates. Normally, male literates are more than the female literates. Over the decades, this gap between male literates and female literates is declining. In 1961, the gap was about 27.2 percentage points, and it has declined to 16.3 percentage points in 2011. And this slide tells about some interesting facts, some surprising facts about census 2011. India's population in census 2011, as I told, it is 121.1 crore, or in a million, it is 1,210.9 million. And that population size of India is almost equal to the combined population of 6 countries. You can see USA, Indonesia, Brazil, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Japan. Put together, their population in 2010 was 1,214.3 million, and ours population is 1,210.9 million, very closer. And this is a matter of concern. Then Uttar Pradesh, its state population is 99.8 million in 2011, which is more or less equal, higher than that of Brazil. And Brazil is the 5th most populous country in the world. And Brazil's population in 2010 was 190.7 million. And the combined population of Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra, which comes to 312.2 million, that is greater than that of USA in 2010. And USA population in 2010 was 308.7 million. And our two states population more than that of USA. Then total number of children in the age group 0 to 6 years in India, it was as per 2011 census, it was 164.5 million, and the population of Nigeria is less than that. And this indicates about how population is a matter of concern for India. This is the end of our third portion. Now we can break for 5-minute break. Means I should invite some questions. If anyone wants to raise any question, can raise. After 3-4 minutes, we can further continue.
Yeah, audience can now ask question. Please, those who want to ask question, they can unmute their mic and ask question based on the previous session only. Because he has one session left, so he will be delivering that later on. So based on previous session, anyone can ask question. Please come out. Anyone having any question in mind? Please, yes. Last Chandraji, please.
Yes, my question is, we have a lot of information to Aadhaar card or Aadhaar, what we have collected. How it will be useful for in the census 2021?
Yes, this is a very good question. Aadhaar card, so far I don't think that is mandatory. And there may be our population census that is mandatory. That means no one can deny for the population census. And as I told, we have the legal backing. And suppose in case of Aadhaar, if someone earlier, I think the persons, yeah, children below 3 years of age, they do not have Aadhaar card. Also, it is not so compulsory. And if anyone do not, anyone has no Aadhaar card, may not get some government benefit, but it is to some extent optional. But in case of census, we don't have that privilege. Everyone is bound to be counted during our population enumeration. That is why we should separately take up this population census without depending upon our Aadhaar card, etc.
Anybody else would like to pose question?
Sir,
Yeah, please come out.
sir, I want
Unmute
to
your
ask,
mic. Yeah.
sir,
So sharp pass.
yes, sir. Sir, whether the Union territories like Andaman and Nicobar Islands, there are early tribes, sir, whether they are also counted in the census for the population.
Everyone is counted in our census. In fact, as I told, there is a difficult tribe in Andaman Nicobar in the earlier censuses. Our census people, they won't enter into their island, but at the seashore, they will beat the drums and they will come out and their heads will be counted. Very rare tribal communities are there and their population very less. And this time in those islands, for these primitive tribes, we have discussed with our space organizations, etc., for their counting through satellite images, and that will be taking place at the time of our census taking. And also there are difficult areas in northeastern states. We used to just send our enumeration teams to those areas with the help of helicopters. That is why all types of efforts are taken so that no one is left out in census. But still, the total non-coverage, that means there may be some non-coverage in urban areas, etc., that cannot be completely ruled out. But through our public awareness activities as well as various special measures, we try to cover everyone. Like a boat population, they are also covered. Suppose any ship has that is available in our Indian territory, that is they are also covered. All these steps are taken during our census. Next question, please.
Yeah, I have another question. Sir, with all arrangements, you are trying to count people, but still there are shanties around the cities. There are like is the largest slum area of the world, and there are migrants. You cannot track everybody and you cannot count everybody. So what is still left out? If I say from 100%, what would be the percentage still left out which cannot be counted?
A very good question. In fact, slums, etc., for them, we take some prior arrangements in those areas with the help of local authorities, that means executive officers. All these slum areas are first demarcated, and we within these slums we create some enumeration blocks, keeping in view the normal workload of the enumerators, and we use the map also. And for 2011 census also, we had used the satellite images so as to ensure that no area is left out. And in the subsequent discussion, I will show you how, with the help of our some geo-referenced maps, etc., and with the help of satellite images, we have taken some steps so that no area, it will be ensured that no area is left out. That is one. Second one is migration. Migration means in our population census, we have the criteria of enumeration. Our population enumeration period is about 20 days, and within that 20 days, there will be some normal members in the households whosoever is present for some movement during that entire 20 days will be counted there. Any migrant, he has come from some other place, and if he will be available in that place for the entire 20 days will be counted. That means any visitor in the household who will stay in that household for the entire 20 days will be counted. And if there is a chance to go back, that visitor will go back to his own household, then he or she will be counted at his own household. These are the criteria, and actually we train up the enumerators very in a detailed manner. You can see also in the subsequent slide about our training procedures. And through all these methods, we would try to collect data from everyone. But still, there will be some left out cases, and we conduct a PES, that is post enumeration survey, after our census. And that post enumeration survey indicates about the magnitude of omission or duplication. And as per the previous PES results in 2011 as well as 2001 census and earlier censuses, our magnitude of omission is about 2.2%. That means for 100 population, net omission is about 2.2%, which is statistically very acceptable figure, and that is why we are not worried. But in a country like India, we cannot completely rule out the possibility of omission. Now, I think we may continue the next portion.
Yes, yes, yes.
And at the end, there can be another opportunity for the viewers to raise their questions. Okay, now we can proceed. This portion is regarding strategy for present round of census, and the present round of census, that is a landmark in the use of technology. And as I told earlier, we used to conduct our census in the year ending with a 1, and our next census was to be conducted in the present year, that means in 2021. Our original calendar was like this, and we conduct our census in 2 phases. In 2 phases means in 2 parts. House listing, one is house listing and housing census, and another is population enumeration. And house listing and housing census, that provides a frame for conducting population enumeration. And besides providing a frame, through the house listing and housing census, we collect also some valuable data on housing conditions, household amenities, then assets possessed by the households. And along with the phase 1 of our 2021 census, we had the plan of updating the National Population Register. The National Population Register that was created in the year 2010, while we conducted the first phase of our 2011 census, and that register was subsequently updated in 2014-15. And again, there is a plan to update the National Population Register in 2021, the census. And this phase 1, that was to be conducted during April to September 2020 in a period of 45 days as chosen by the state government. There was flexibility of time. A state could have chosen April or April 1st April to 15th May, like that. And during that, there were 30 days time for house listing operation and 15 days for updation of NPR. And the second phase, that is population enumeration or collection of individual level information, that was the period from 9th to 20th February 2021, and followed by a revision round from 1st to 5th March 2021. Here a question comes, why there will be the revision round? That means the enumerator will collect the detailed information over a period of 20 days. The enumerator, when he covered, suppose covered 8 or 10 households on the 9th, thereafter there will be birth or there will be death in that household. All these figures will be further revised during the period 1st to 5th March, so that The population figures arrived ultimately will be as on 1st March 2021. That is our reference date. There were certain areas in our country that was known as snowbound areas in Uttarakhand, Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh, and Himachal Pradesh. And for these snowbound areas, it was not possible to conduct population enumeration during February. That is why we conduct population enumeration for them in advance in the month September 2020, followed by a revisional round of 5 days to just update our population records. But all these timelines has been postponed due to outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, and no phase period has not been finalized yet. Then strategy, or otherwise we may call it our methodology. And as we discussed earlier, up to 2011 census, we collected data through paper schedule by the enumerators. But this time, in 2011 to 20, for 2021 census, or whenever we are going to conduct that, there will be mixed mode data collection of data through mobile application. Then there will be paper schedules also. Then self-enumeration. The households will be given opportunity to self-report. Yeah, go for self-enumeration by using our quota. All these three options will be available, and enumerators to use their own device. That means they will use their own smartphone for collecting data through a mobile application. And for that, the enumerators who will be using their own device, they will be getting higher enumeration, higher honorarium than the enumerators who are using paper schedules for collection of data. Then if any enumerator will not be computer savvy, or he will not be conversant with the smartphone or mobile application, then may collect data on paper schedules. Then paper schedules, so filled in schedules will be scanned like the earlier census. Then data will be captured through ICR. Finally, will be sent to the ORG server. Then coding of descriptive responses. Earlier, as I told, religion names, yeah, language, mother tongue names, etc. For that, descriptive responses were being recorded. But this time we have provided the comprehensive code directory. Suppose a worker, he is engaged in a farm who is doing some business like that, or a farm, a person is working as accountant, etc. All these will be written, recorded by the enumerator, what actually is being done by the person. Along with that, a code from the code directory will also be inserted by the enumerator in the field. That means it will reduce the workload in our headquarters, and we can quickly process our data and provide data at a very lesser time. And then there is another system we have developed, that is for management and monitoring our census activities. A dedicated census web portal will be utilized, and on real-time basis we can know about the progress of work. If in any area there is slowness, slackness, then immediately the seniors can be asked to intervene. Then training to field functionaries. You see, if there will be qualitative training to the census functionaries, then we can have the qualitative data. And if the training will be poor, then we may not expect good data from through census. And that is why this time also, like the 2011 census, there will be 3-level trainers to ultimately impart training to the enumerators and supervisors. There will be 100 experienced national trainers, and who will impart training to 1900 master trainers. And master trainers mainly will be the lecturers in the colleges and high school headmasters, etc. And some state government officers, those who are very acquainted with our census concepts, and they are experts in imparting training, etc. Their services will be utilized. Already we have trained off 1900 master trainers. We have trained off them for 2021 census, but again they will be again trained with refresher course before going for training of field trainers. And we have just earmarked about 43,500 field trainers, and these field trainers will be drafted again from lecturers, high school teachers, etc. Some will be from state government offices, um, whosoever can impart good training, and they will be selected through the district collectors, and as well as the charge officers. Ultimately, these 43,500 field trainers, they will train up 30 lakh enumerators and supervisors. The base size of enumerator supervisors in a training will be about 40, so that they can be imparted good training. And these are the training modules, and this time the trainers have been imparted training on also about the training skill, how one should impart training. That skill has been first imparted in ISTM, that is Institute of Secretarial Training and Management by the central government. There they have been trained about the training skills, and also national trainers were trained in NSSTA. NSSTA is the National Statistical Systems Training Academy. In a training atmosphere, they have been trained, and adequate efforts have been taken how to provide good quality training to each and everyone, so that census data would be qualitative. And this is the mapping efforts. Here, this time we have taken an innovative step to just capture the terminal points in our enumeration block. Enumeration block is nothing but the area entrusted to one enumerator. That may be a part of the village or a complete village, or a part of the ward or a complete ward. And here all the terminal points, that means the boundaries of the block, enumeration block. Some important points will be captured by the supervisor at the time of census taking, so that later on we can utilize that feedbacks to ensure that all the area has been covered. If there will be any left out areas, that can be automatically captured and identified through our GI based technology. And this is the mapping part. Then this is the census management and monitoring system. This is the module which will be utilized for monitoring the census activities on a real-time basis. And this is the house listing and housing census questionnaire design. And whosoever who is collecting data through on paper schedule, this type of A3 schedule will be utilized by them. And there will be 10 rows on each side, and total 34 questions. Most of the entries are numeric. Census house number, running 4-digit serial number. Then use of census house, that will be numeric and alphabetic. Name of head of the household, alphabetic. I should not discuss it in detail. These are the questions one can see from my presentation. Mainly on housing condition, we ask regarding materials of floor, wall, roof, then use and condition of house, ownership, number of rooms, etc., number of married couples, household information, total person, sex, and SC, ST status of the head, amenities available like drinking water facilities, lighting, latrine facility, drainage connectivity, bathing, kitchen, LPG, PNG connectivity, fuel used for cooking, then assets possessed में radio, transistor, television, access to internet, laptop, computer, all these access whether available or not is asked. We never ask how many are available. We ask only whether these facilities are available or not. Then main serial consumed and mobile number. This mobile number of any one mobile number in the household is being asked this time. For the first time in the ensuing census will be asked, so that the households will be given the opportunity for self-enumeration in the second phase. And these are the questions for our first phase. And this is the schedule design of our population enumeration. And both the sites will be utilized. There are all total 28 questions. and more or less many questions we have numeric entries, and some of the questions both numeric as well as descriptive, and only one question will be only descriptive, that is name of persons in the household. And these are the questions on demographic. We have sex, date of birth, as marital status, as at marriage, children born and surviving, sociocultural. We have relationship to head, religion, SC/ST, then mother tongue, two other languages known, literate status, status of attendance in educational institution, highest educational level, stream, discipline. Then in work, economic field, we have work status, category of economic activity, occupation, industry, class of worker, non-economic activity, seeking or available for work, mode of travel and distance to place of work, number of bank accounts, migration, birthplace, place of last residence, reason for migration, like that. Now, adequate public measures will be taken. Earlier also we used to take, and this time also there will be adequate public measures, publicity measures, and it will be, there will be holistic approach using mass media, public outreach, digital media, special attention to rural areas, as because unless the uh, wide awareness is created, we cannot get cooperation from the public. Although there are some penalty provision for non-cooperation by any person, but we don't apply that as the first course. We first motivate them, we try to just sensitize them. Then ultimately, if anyone declines, then we go for that penalty. Then sensitization of critical issues like collection of data on disability, collection of data on religion, etc. Uh, all the public there to be sensitized. In our publicity measures will be in local languages also, besides the Hindi and English. Then messages from dignitaries, messages from celebrities to involve all. These are our approaches. Then our publicity will be on social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, WhatsApp. There will be short messages, short videos, etc., to aware the public regarding the census taking. Then data dissemination. Data dissemination, as I told, as per census definition, this is an integral part of our census taking, census process. That is why data dissemination will be through planned as well as customized tabulation, and census as a service. There will be query-based responses, and the applications will be developed so that whatever will be the query, accordingly through database, the responses can be generated. Then ministry, states, and other users to get desired aggregated information through tables and maps through API. Then provisional population will be released within 3 weeks after the population enumeration. In the past also used to release it within 3 weeks, but the final tables, we take some time. And this time for house listing and housing census, that is our first phase, we are just prepared for releasing data within 6 to 8 months, as because this will be the first digital census in India. Many enumerators will collect data through mobile apps, so we will take very less time to process our data. Then population enumeration P data, the important one is village-wise primary data, that will be village and ward-wise in the case of urban, that can be provided within 1 year time. And other P data, population enumeration data, and finalization of NPR data, that will be within 2 years. Then for COVID, of course, we cannot go for the complete self-enumeration. Self-enumeration, if adopted, that can avoid the physical interaction. But in India, like country like India, self-enumeration is not 100% possible. And also we don't have a complete address system so as to ensure that how many households they have been covered through self-enumeration and how many are to be visited by the enumerators. That is why that option is ruled out, or at least for the ensuing census. But we have other steps. We have incentivized the enumerators for use of mobile apps. Since the enumerators will be getting higher honorarium, they will be using mobile apps, and that will reduce the physical contacts and ensure greater social distancing. Then self enumeration will be there. Some percentage of population, they may go for self enumeration, which can avoid physical interaction. Then most of the meetings at present, almost all the meetings and trainings are being done through virtual mode, and thereby we are avoiding our physical interventions. This is all about my presentation. First of all, thanks to everyone for listening to me patiently. Now we can invite questions from the audience. Now, should I just answer it?
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Really, it was very interesting lecture. I will now ask audience to post questions. Whatever they have in their mind after this wonderful lecture, they can ask questions. Please come out with your questions. Yes, please come out. Yeah. My friend wants to ask one question, Mr. Vinay Kumar. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir, due to education and awareness, people are aware towards the increasing population. I hope that in 2021, the population census, there may be some decrease in population in some areas of our country. What do you think, sir?
Actually, his question is whether there will be some decline in population after so much efforts by the government and increase in education level.
I'm going to answer this question first. There is the possibility in the earlier census also we have noticed there may be decline in population in certain areas as because there are three components of our population. One is previous population, there will be births, there will be deaths, there will be out migration, there will be in migration. All these components, they contribute for deciding the population at a given point of time. So wherever there will be migration of population from that village or from that area to urban area, or there will be more death than the births, then definitely as compared to 2011 census, there will be decline in population. But as a whole India or states, there is a very less possibility of declining population as compared to 2011 census.
Yes, anybody else would like to pose question, please come out. It's a golden opportunity for you to ask questions. Probably students. Yes, Prashant.
Sir, I want to ask one question that the government is utilizing resources, time, energy, and capital to search to find the census in every 10 years. But is there any major policy by the government which has led to the decline of population or which has controlled this situation in our country?
This is a very good question. In fact, uh, government on the basis of population census data, you may call it growth, you may call it sex ratio, at different points of time taking various steps. For example, sex ratio, decline in sex ratio in 2011 census, mainly in our northern parts, basically in Punjab and Haryana, the total sex ratio as well as child sex ratio, that was very less. And government came forward and tried to motivate the people to not to go for that sex selective births, etc. And there are certainly everyone knows that the government has made some rules. There won't be any ultrasound, etc., in hospitals to decide about the sex of the uh, child who is they are in the womb of the mother. And again, regarding population, you see, government has been taking various steps time and again, and initially motivating through different public awareness campaigning. Uh, they are being motivated to go for the small family, so that family can be healthy, family can be without any problem in the future, like that. But at present, I don't think it is up to the government to take further steps, so that there will be uh, control or restriction to our increase in population.
So are we including COVID data? Means how many people got COVID in the census?
That is not covered in our census. In fact, you see, uh, ultimately the questions for census are selected keeping in view the normal workload of the enumerator. If you will go on increasing the census questions, we cannot get qualitative data. And various ministries, they require different types of information through census, as because census is the only instrument where it can provide data up to the lowest administrative level. But we cannot just accommodate the aspirations of all the government departments as well as all the sectors in our society. That is why we will have to maintain a balance between the two. Second one is, we should not go for many sensitive questions, as because sensitiveness in census questions will spoil our data quality. Will That will have a negative impact on the data. And third one is the census questions should be simple, so that enumerator can canvas and can get back the correct responses. That is why this question, how many died through COVID, etc., that cannot be captured through our census.
Anybody else would like to pose questions?
No, sir.
Yes, please. I know, please introduce yourself and you can ask question. What happened? Okay. So I think no more questions. So should we wind up? Anybody wants to ask questions? Okay, sir. Thank you very much for sparing your valuable time. Really, it was very interesting lectures. Lots of data you have shown to us. Many facts which we are not aware of. That you are conducting such a mammoth task and such a challenging job is to conduct census. Really, it's a very challenging job. And thank you very much once again to you for sparing your valuable time. I'm thankful to all the participants, all the audience who have attended this lecture. I hope you are all benefited with this lecture. So thank you all, and hope we will have another session very soon on some different topic. So thank you all of you. Thank you, Dr.